Hello, my name is DAJ Studios and welcome back to Behind the Scenes. This time we have plenty to talk about. We're going to be taking a look at some test footage that I've created. We're going to be taking a look at a shot that I wanted to feature a couple of weeks ago but didn't have the time to. And I have a couple of updates to do with episode 6 and I suppose also the release of episode 5. So I wanted to do like a kind of extra section last week when I talked about masking and all that kind of stuff, and there will be a link to that up in one of the sides. So there's a shot in the episode when the Doctor runs through basically a corridor or just a street, runs through, comes to the end, and then he sees the Monitor down the extended part of the street. And obviously you can't sort of do an extended part of the street on your desk, so you had to do it afterwards. So there is blue at the back of those Lego pieces, which means that I can then replace that blue with something else later on. So what I did was take an image of the side view the following day when I continued to do the rest of the shot of the street. I took a side view with the Monitor and a bunch of characters in place, and then sort of did like an image inside of an image, and I made a smaller image that had just the creature, the people in it, and the background, and then put that onto the back of the blue screened image as well, and blurred the thing. I wish I did a bit more blurring because I think it's quite uneven, that it does look a bit weird. But overall I'm quite happy with it. I'm quite happy with how the Doctor moves his head out like this, instead of me having to cut round at every single time that I do it. Right, so let's go into the test footage. So for each shot, I'm kind of going to go through it and sort of pause it, so I'll show you individual sections. So the first shot I think is the worst, right? So it starts off alright, it was all done on one sort of large plate, and then in the sort of post-production stuff I would put all those zooms in it. I think it makes it look like a pretty decent sort of impact. Instead of everything just being still, it actually has some movement to it, which is what I wanted to achieve. I also wanted to achieve good movement. I wanted to see if I could do action choreography, and this is all because I wanted to have a go in episode 8 of doing like sword fights and gunfights and stuff, and I haven't really done a lot of sword fights, and they're quite complicated, and I made a lot of animations as a kid. Sword fights were awful. They were just awful. There were a lot of just that, and that looks pathetic, and I wanted to try and do something else with it, and this is what I've gone with. So the first shot is he's supposed to run up, kick him, spin round, and then cut his head off, but I didn't get the angles right at all. I really wish I did a straight down and the head hit the floor, because that would have made a better shot than how I did it. So basically, most of this is just my error, if I'm honest. The fact that I didn't think to myself, hang on a second, why isn't, I can't cut it that way after my character's cutting it that way. Pathetic. It's truly, I can't forgive myself for that. That's awful. And the lighting's wrong, but the head coming off actually looks okay. I just did that by using the GIMP software that I use to cut things up. Basically it's Photoshop, and I just simply cut the top of the head off and moved it at the same time as cutting off the bit that connects the head to the body, and did that a couple of times, and there you go. And that looks good. The actual head slicing looks good, but the action slicing the head looks stupid. For the second guy that gets punched, but all I did was take a clean layer of the hand alone. In the software I'd move it and then save the image, move it, save the image, and then change the image occasionally with the movement of the head, so they kind of line up. I think that by itself it looks good, but in the action scene it does look weird. Maybe it could be like an opening shot or something, but I don't know. What do you think? I'm a bit mixed on it, if I'm honest. There is a shot when it changes from being the version that I have, the picture, and the version that he actually has in his hand. There is like a shot when it transfers, and I think it's probably, you can probably notice it because I think he flips the sword. So he flips the sword on that shot, and it actually looks rather effective, and then he picks it up and throws it. But that movement I'm actually really happy with, because that looks good. And then we have the actual movement into the head. So originally I was going to do a kind of shot when it sort of spins in the air, and I was going to do it so it comes across So the camera pans up off the character that's throwing the sword, pans up into the sky, and in the sky you can see the sword spinning, and then there'll be another layer, and it will actually cut. There'll be a hidden cut in there when it cuts to the other plate. Same sort of space, to be honest. And then that will spin up in this corner, and then it will fly into the bloke. But I thought, hang on, this will take too long. It won't look like it's got any urgency, any speed to it when you see it when you see it literally moving like that through the space. So I thought I would do sort of shorter movement, so it's quite quick. It's only about 3 or 4 frames. And then in the end, it just kind of went, yeah, do you know what? I'm just gonna have it move into his head like that. I don't know why I have to act out everything that I talk about. But I thought I'd just have it act out and smack him in the head, because I thought that would be easier. And it was. I think it's rather effective. And then I have the camera follow him down. I think that something that I've really learned from doing all this tracking stuff is that I need to track. Tracking is really good for action scenes. It helps the audience focus on the thing that I want them to focus on. It actually hides a lot of sort of little mistakes. One wide plane, is not very thrilling for an action scene. So I think that putting all those cuts in there, the closeness, the zooms, the pans, all of that make it a lot more interesting. So overall, I think the test footage is really effective. It could just do with some tweaking, and some shots, I think, need to be more realistic. Okay, and then we have my final little updates. Okay, so my first update is episode 5 is basically finished. The trailer's going to be coming out soon. I started working on it. The poster I have an idea for, but I haven't started working on it. So all of that is on its way. But in terms of episode 6, I've got a kind of plan. So I want to try and get on to the completion of episode 8 by the end of the year. So 9, the final episode, can be a kind of most of the year project next year. Or, start in the late summer, August time, and then end about a year later. And it will come out in sort of June time. That's when I'm going for it. June next year is basically what I want to be the end of the series. And episode 6, I think, is a very simple episode. It's a very important episode, but it's simple in terms of how it's filmed. It's mostly in one place. It's only 2 characters, really. So I'm going to try and set myself a challenge to finish the episode in a month. Which sounds a bit crazy, but it's not. I really want to try and finish the filming of the episode in the next couple of weeks, and then just sort of pan it over a little bit into July, so that it kind of fills the time a bit. So I've given myself a bit of an extended deadline on that to try and finish it some point during July. So basically, we've got a month and a half. I'm trying for a month, but I imagine it'll probably be a month and a half knowing me. But yeah, that's all of my updates that I've got. Episode 5 is on its way. Thank you very much for watching. Hopefully you did enjoy. Oh yeah, I forgot. I've also got a plan for episodes 7, 8, and 9 is kind of working out a bit. I have plans for them to begin with since episode 1, but I decided to change episode 8. Episode 8 was going to be set on Gallifrey and just Gallifrey, but I thought that kind of was a bit weird compared to, we're only doing 9 episodes. For so many of them to link anyway in terms of an arc, for them to all end up being arc episodes was something that I didn't really want to do. So I thought that I would make episode 8 a kind of slightly arced but also mostly a historical episode. Because, we haven't done that kind of stuff. But I thought that could be kind of fun. That's why I've been doing all the screen tests, test footage. Because I want to do sort of Paris and I want to do Musketeers and that kind of stuff. Because that's one of my favourite shows. So thank you guys very much for watching. Hopefully you did enjoy this video. If you did, make sure to give a like, subscribe if you're new, and I shall see you soon. Goodbye.